They told you to be nice. They told you to be quiet, agreeable, and polite. But let me tell you something no one dares say out loud anymore. If you're not capable of being dangerous, you're not virtuous. You're harmless. And there's a massive difference between the two. So no, you shouldn't be safe. You shouldn't be soft. You shouldn't be weak. You should be a monster. And then you should learn to control it. Because the world doesn't need more fragile saints. It needs strong people who have chosen virtue over vengeance, because they've tasted both. Would you like this in a performance? Ready script or modified for a specific audience, students, professionals, men's group, etc. We've been sold a lie, that power is inherently evil, that force is toxic, and that aggression is always a moral failure. So many well-meaning people walk around ashamed of their strength, suppressing every urge that might come off as intimidating, loud, or assertive. We confuse meekness with virtue, but let me ask you something. If you're incapable of causing harm, what exactly makes you good? That's not morality, that's fragility masquerading as righteousness. See, power without control is dangerous. History has shown us tyrants and despots, people consumed by their own appetites, destroying everything around them. We've learned to fear that, rightly so, but here's the other half of the truth, the part we almost never say: control without power is useless, it's pathetic. You can be the most polite, well-mannered, gentle soul in the room, but if you're completely incapable of standing up for yourself or protecting others, then your morality is nothing but an ornament, a decoration on a hollow frame. It looks good, but it crumbles under pressure. The path forward isn't to renounce power, it's to integrate it, to develop your capacity for strength, for dominance, even for controlled aggression, and then discipline it, master it, channel it. That's what makes someone truly dangerous in the best possible way. Think of the warrior who has trained for years to strike with precision, but only does so when absolutely necessary. That's power under control, and that's real virtue, not because he can't hurt anyone, but because he chooses not to, despite having the ability. It's easy to be nice when you're harmless. There's no virtue in that. It costs you nothing, but when you know how dangerous you could be, when you've wrestled with that darker part of yourself and still choose to walk a righteous path, that's moral strength, that's courage, that's character. You were not born to be passive, you were not designed to be small. The world is not kind to the powerless. It does not listen to the quiet voice of someone who cannot back up their words with action. Power, true, cultivated, disciplined power, is not something to be feared. It is something to be earned, because only then do you have the strength to protect, to lead, to confront what is unjust, and to stand unshaken in a world that rewards the dominant and punishes the weak. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with the uncomfortable truth that being good is not the same as being harmless. In fact, being harmless might just be the most dangerous thing you can be, because it means you are vulnerable to domination, manipulation, and injustice, not only for yourself, but for those who rely on you. You cannot defend, you cannot resist, and worst of all, you cannot say no when it matters. This world isn't built for the passive. It's built by those who are capable of great power and choose to use it with restraint. If you've lived your life trying to be agreeable to everyone, to never cause conflict, to never raise your voice or sharpen your edges, then you've already surrendered, and you don't even know it. You have to understand that life will test you. It will confront you with suffering, betrayal, loss, and violence, whether physical or psychological, and if all you have is politeness and a soft voice, you will be crushed. It is only those who have built themselves into something formidable, who have cultivated strength, self-respect, and the capacity for controlled aggression, who can walk into the chaos of life and not be consumed by it. But this strength is not about becoming cruel or ruthless. No, it's about becoming capable of facing the dragon and not turning your back, capable of being a sword in a world full of wolves and sheep, and choosing every single day to keep that sword sheathed unless there is no other option, The tragedy is that we raise people today to be tamed, not trained, to be soft, not sovereign. But what if instead you saw your darker impulses not as something to destroy, but as something to refine? What if you stopped trying to kill the monster inside you and instead taught it to bow to your highest values? That is what strength looks like, not raw brutality, but dangerous capacity under voluntary control. That is what it means to integrate your shadow, to master your inner chaos so you can bring order to the world around you. Not only are you allowed to be dangerous, you are required to be, if you ever hope to truly protect, serve, or lead. So be a monster, a trained one, a principled one. Become someone whose presence commands respect, not because you demand it, but because you've become the kind of person who could destroy and chooses not to. In a time when mediocrity is celebrated and strength is demonized, you must rise above the noise and reclaim your potential. The world doesn't need more passive saints. It needs dangerous men and women of discipline, those who could bring the fire and still choose to heal. That is power. That is virtue. That is who you must become. Thank you for giving your time, your attention, and perhaps most importantly, your willingness to hear something uncomfortable but true. The world is full of noise, but you chose to listen to a message that calls you not to comfort, but to courage. That means something. As you leave this moment behind, don't just forget what you heard. Reflect, wrestle with it, ask yourself, what have I been avoiding? What strength have I neglected to build? Who do I need to become, not just for myself, but for those who depend on me? And if today sparked even the smallest fire and you nurture it, feed it, let it grow, because this world doesn't need more tame, compliant souls. It needs warriors of conscience, and that journey starts now with you. Thank you, and goodbye.